Oh, hi! Thanks for tuning in. I hope you are all staying safe, wearing a mask, and voting if you haven't done so already. I did it by mail, so I don't have a sticker. Also, remember to save the date. November 3rd is election day. I'll be live, but not sure how it's going to work with my multiple channels and my venture into live streaming. So if you want to join us, please watch out for my Twitter at HilaHila or our Telegram channel at Barely a Bar Show for more information and a link to the live stream. Hickory dickory dock, let's turn back the clock. Violent protesters vandalized statues of Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt. Portland has seen more civil unrest when the United States of America decided to still keep the national holiday of Christopher Columbus intact during one of the worst times in the geopolitical and united understanding of universal bigotry and static systemic racism. On October 11th, featured on the Oregon's newspaper OregonLive.org, titled "Portland Protesters Topple Statues of Theodore Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln in Day of Rage, Police Declare Riot," we find that some double standards and non-protesters, militant types of rioters, seem to control the streets of Portland after public outcry that the national holiday remained. Reading further into the article, one can say something felt like suckering succotash and quite malarkey in regards to these protesters' intentions. Most of the time, protesters protect themselves and conduct themselves peacefully by recording everything they can and be a witness in their own ebb and storyline of these events. Protesters of all racial backgrounds want the universe to know what's going on in the now to possibly change the future. Unlike these type of highly trained alt-right leaning military types that the article continued to say, quote, "People in the crowd were repeatedly admonished not to film. Passers-by who happened upon the group were ordered by demonstrators to stop filming or delete photographs, including an apartment resident who had lasers shined at his eyes and a liquid thrown in his face as he appeared to shoot video of the scene from his terrace." The group, about 200 strong, marched through downtown Portland, at one point occupying all four lanes of West Burnside Street. Most dressed head to toe in black, many wore body armor, carried shields, or wielded nightsticks and other weapons. End quote. Alright, hold up. The images and the story of what we are being fed are not right. These people were violent in telling other protesters not to videotape, were watched and threatened to delete the content, and were bodily harmed in ways that other protesters that peacefully demonstrate and act within reason would never do. I smell a rat. Ooh, that's right, Mr. Cheese Whizzy Fusheezy. Any comments on using the military to further the public discourse of hate between fellow Americans? I don't need you to comment, Mr. President. I got something more juicy than Cardi B's WAP. The article goes on to say, quote, "Earlier Sunday, demonstrators rallied in downtown Portland to show support for police and President Donald Trump. Some appeared to carry firearms, others carried pepper spray canisters and paintball-style compressed air guns." End quote. Pictures of these same individuals wearing full-on body armor and specialized gear just like the rioters did? Seems like you knew them all along, Mr. President, and yet you blame everyone else. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the truth will always bite you in the lying Kanye West workout plan. This said, statues of Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln were toppled and the Oregon Historical Society were vandalized. The society, which preached truth of history and a beacon of Portland and Oregon to tell the story as it was. The Abraham Lincoln statue was toppled and graffitied Dakota 38. Why would they attack such a man that represented the first president to give African Americans their freedom and give them suffrage and became a beacon for the civil rights movement? I guess we need a history lesson here. The paper Indian Country Today wrote an article on December 27, 2017 titled "The Traumatic True History and the Name List of the Dakota 38." The conflict between the Dakota Nation and the United States all happened when the Bureau of Indian Affairs, run and created by Secretary of War John C. Calhoun, Southern sympathizer and pro-slavery Southern Democrat, who ran by the philosophy, "What's good for us/me is best for the country." It was John C. Calhoun and the U.S. military that were proposing/strong-arming to continue moving the Dakota Indians further west. This would make life inhabitable for the Native Americans who were being treated less than garbage, and the Native Dakota Indians had enough. On August 17, 1862, 4 Dakota hunters went on a hunting party trip and murdered 5 settlers, settling in the lands meant to be kept sovereign to the Native Dakotian Indians. Quote, "The U.S.-Dakota War of 1862 encompassed 37 days of fighting. The aftermath of the war fatality estimates included 77 American soldiers, 29 citizen soldiers, 358 settlers, and 20 29 Dakota warriors, end quote. At the end of this, U.S. Colonel Sibley and Southern sympathizer, ex-Southern General of the Confederate Army, promised that he would only take warriors responsible for the war, but instead condemned over 2,000 of the tribe. A court inquiry and military commission took place. 42 days of trials and information gathering led to 303 that the courts were ready to convict and be put to death under military tribunal, but Abraham Lincoln asked to investigate. President Lincoln knew something had to be done. Southern patriots, and many of which served for the Confederacy, were killed along with sympathizing families, and if gone unpunished during the geopolitical tension of the time, could have reignited a second wave to the Civil War. After careful consideration, taking to the account the language barrier, and excluding all other crimes except for those of rape, pillage, and robbery, the president had found that only 38, two of which he was not at fault, the fault lay with the War Council who made the mistake, were guilty. The president allowed the families of the convicted to visit loved ones prior to their date of execution, which was delayed thrice before. The hangings took place December 26, 1862, making this day the most executed on a single day in U.S. history. Abraham Lincoln was in the War of all wars. A civil war and tensions of this reverberated across all the United States. Every decision scrutinized and used as propaganda. Back then, appointments were given to those who defected the South with patronage. And these two, for instance, were awarded to both U.S. Colonel H. Sibley and James Calhoun, the Secretary of War and also in charge of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Both were from the Confederacy, loyalists, pro-slavery, and the exploitation of others for personal/financial gain, and sympathizers of the South. At the time when the president gave you a position, you were at sole discretion of that place of power, and you were deemed sound of mind to do so. So the president would trust that they would act in best interest of the United States while the president was trying to get slavery abolished, give them land and suffrage, and work towards equality for all under law, under one flag, is a huge responsibility. If Abraham Lincoln didn't intervene, maybe more of the 303 originally sentenced would have been hung. He also knew these Indians killed Southern colonists, Confederate soldiers, and Southern sympathizers, that if he had done nothing, it may have driven us more forward to a tumultuous civil war and lit the fire for the Confederacy, and may have lengthened the most bloodiest war in U.S. history. We are left with startling information and an account of history not in many textbooks. The tragedy and execution towards those native Dakota Indians is a tragedy that was fueled by others' hate and bigotry, and not in the president's personal feelings. I don't believe that this should by any means tarnish Honest Abe's Abraham Lincoln's name, reputation, and his service. This just goes to prove that he was human, and he did the best in the worst situation possible, during which, if those appointed did their jobs properly and worked with the native Dakota Indians to begin with, none of this would have happened. The true culprits were the Bureau of Indian Affairs, run by James Calhoun, the Secretary of War, and Colonel H. Sibley for their actions during this. They were the ones responsible for the Dakota Indians' death, treatment, wrongful strong arming, and exodus. I think that this time rioters had it wrong and need to read betwixt the lines of narrative to get this right before toppling another statue that wasn't by peaceful protesters. That was some history lesson. Let's pile on the news blast. Welcome to Woke52, week 42. I'm your annoying social media bestie, HilaHila. Oh my god, this debate is so boring. Let's put a filter on it. Haha, they're babies. Representatives AOC and Ilhan played Among Us and live streamed with popular streamers to have fun and inform about voting and the election. Mitch McConnell told the White House not to agree to a COVID deal with Speaker Pelosi and introduced one of his own that does not include a stimulus check. Bloomberg invests $100 million in Biden ads against Trump in Florida. Trump and GOP's attacks on mail-in voting ended up causing early voting surge in Georgia. People waited in long lines at the polls to ensure their vote. Trump has a secret Chinese bank account and we still don't know who he owes money to. The parents of 545 children separated at the U.S.-Mexico border cannot be found. A judge ordered the Trump administration to reunite families last year. Rudy Giuliani, who previously said Borat didn't get him, is in Borat too, flirting with who he believes to be Borat's 15-year-old daughter and caught with his hands down his pants. Iran poses as Proud Boys and sends threatening emails to voters telling them to vote for Trump. Biden and Trump had their final presidential debate and it was shockingly normal. Trump even let Biden speak and we had very few interruptions, a stark contrast from the first one. Boom! 52 seconds. Thank you for watching. If you like these news blasts, feel free to share a bear with your friends. friends. You can also like, comment, subscribe, and click the notifications alert bell to stay woke 52 times a year in 52 seconds of news. Want more news with your favorite news bearer? Feel free to stay to the end to watch some clips or images with me. Don't forget, Election Day I'll be live. Come join me for some election night stress. It'll be fun. Bye for now.